Alright, so we've got a PlayStation 4 Slim board, and board modeled the SAF-005. And the issue with this one today is going to be the HDMI port. Let me flip this around so that you can see. I'm going to go ahead and apologize now for the crotch shot, but I got to bring the scope out. But here's the damage that we've got. Busted up HDMI port. Either trying to yank it out, or you got the console on the floor or something, somebody tripped over the cable. Happens all the time. Okay, so let's back the scope back again. Alright, still working. So, go ahead and get the tip changed out on the soldering iron, get it heated up, get the air station on. Let's see here. Which one do I want to use? Not that one. This one. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get the iron heated up. Get the air station on here. Just using the basic Hacko. Which one is this one? It's the Hacko FX 888D soldering iron, and then using the quick 861DW for the air station. The air station is phenomenal. I cannot suggest anything better for the price. Okay. Got everything heated up. And I went ahead and took the board apart, or the console apart, off camera. Due to right now I don't have an overhead camera to be able to show the disassemblies and stuff, which is going to be nice when I do get a camera and get the mount for it, because then it'll be easier to, show when I'm fixing disk drives and stuff like that on how to repair them. Alright, so we're going to get a little bit of low melt solder here. Pretty much everything nowadays coming out of the factory is going to have unleaded solder, which has a very high melting temperature point. So this low melt solder, it reduces the temperature point for it to melt. So allows you to put less heat in the board and makes it come off. You'll see that it stays liquid in its liquid form a lot longer. So that helps. Okay, let's make sure I got this in camera view good, because it's a little different from what I'm seeing on my scope here. Okay, so there's the back of the port. I'm going to go ahead and remove that padding. That way we can place that on the new port. Okay. And now, oh yeah, you can see back here. Well, let me slide this down. Back here where it's separating. Let's see if I can do something about the glare. Yeah, see how it's nice and tight down here? Well, to a point, and then you got the gaps here. That's just separating off from there. Alright, so we're going to add some more flux. Be using our lovely low melt solder again. When doing this, make sure not to mess with any of these smaller components down here. Last thing you want to do is damage one of the diodes or resistors. It just becomes more of a pain. I mean, they're easy to replace. It's just, why make, why give yourself more work? Okay, and it does take quite a bit of time to get these through holes flooded and get it mixed up well with the low melt. And give it a little twist. Oh, let's jump the temperature up on the iron. That should make a good bit of difference for us. Whenever I'm trying to get the solder mixed up, the low melt and the leaded solder, or excuse me, unleaded that it comes with, I generally got my soldering iron jacked up to 850. Really allows it to mix in a lot quicker. And give it a second, you give it a slight wobble, you feel the pins moving. Get these sides. Now that work's finally slowed down enough to where I can take the time to make some videos. It's just been, I've been slammed. Between that and being out of work for 2 weeks for having some family issues I had to go take care of, and it's just been a madhouse ever since I got back. A lot of work backed up. Okay, so it's getting there. Okay. Alright, now get this hot air station rolling. It's gonna allow us to get this poured off so much easier. Okay, let me get this in a, let's see the best view I can. Let's see if we raise the scope up some. Let's get focused in. Okay, there we are. And where'd my tweezers go? I swear I lose track of everything. One sec. There they are. Okay. Let me readjust now that I knocked it out of frame here. Okay. So, because it's a cold board, it's room temp, you don't want to go straight on to the board. Start off a little distance away, that way you can gradually heat the board up. And once you do that, you can then come in a little bit closer. This is also heating up this side, is allowing us to get to these pins back here a lot easier, and as you're heating here, getting this side going, you come across this way to get to this side, you're heating up the pins through the board for the front. Okay. And these ports are the pads on the front side of the board where they, now that we got it heated up I can get a little bit closer, but the pads on the front side of the board are where those pins are soldered onto are quite fragile, so you don't want to rush. You do that, you're going to rip the pads, and then you just cost yourself more time. And what we can also do, get the iron back out. Help give it that extra little bit. Oh, see, there it goes. Fell right out. Alright. Let's get that off of the desk here. Let's get zoomed back into the port. Okay. Let me get my solder. Let me get my wick. And get the ports out for them. I'm actually starting to run low on those ports. I'm going to have to order some more. Okay. If you have any, if you were wondering, I'm using the Amtex flux, and then for my solder wick, I use Goot wick. It's a little bit more expensive than that cheap crap that you can buy off of eBay, but it works wonderfully. I mean, it just, you can see right there, it just absorbs it no problem. Now these pads were the ones I was telling you about that are fragile, so when you're doing this, best way to do it, come down on it and up and down motion. You don't want to drag across, but just an up and down motion as you're coming. Clear those pads right up and come over here. Come on. I have to add some more flux, and these through holes here can be a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes. Sometimes you gotta go back through, add some more leaded solder or some low melt. Hey, there we go. Nice and clean. Alright, let's get this next one. Come on. And I'm using this wider tip for right now, just so that it's, with the wider tip, you're getting more heat transfer. There's more surface area, so it transfers the heat a lot better for you. I'll switch to the smaller one tip whenever I go over and start working on soldering the pins on the front. That way, and I'll reduce the temperature. Right now I'm still sitting at the 850, but I'll go down on the smaller pins. Let's add a little bit of flux to that. Make our life a little easier. Flux is your best friend. Okay. And let's see. I'm getting a good bit of it, but some of it's wanting to stay. Sometimes you can flip the board over and get to the back side. Oh yeah, that one's coming clean. Alright. Okay, yeah, we're still in camera. Sorry for the glare. It's just from the flux. Let's add some more on this side. I just got to figure out a good audio recording program that's got filters and stuff that will allow me to lower like the background noise. That way I can have my fume extractor on. Way I'm not really breathing this mess in. Okay, did that top one go through? Oh yeah. Alright. Get a little bit of rubbing alcohol here on a Q-tip. Takes this mess right up. Now once see how it's gumming up right there? That's whenever your flux starts to cool down. You can always just pop your hot air station back out, heat it up to get it to come. It'll make it liquefied again, and then comes right up. Alright, so let's grab our replacement port here. And let's get it opened up. That was the last one on that packet. So what I'm going to do first is you want to make sure that you're pressing down. That way you can get the pins up on. And I'm just going to apply some solder. Let's see the camera, yeah. Apply some solder on all these pins here. I'm not going to be worried if they're bridging or whatnot. That's just to help anchor it in place for me to be able to flip the board over and get to the main pins on the back for the through holes. That's what locks the port down. Now sometimes, like, your port can be slid over. Let me zoom in some here so you can see better. Okay. So like you've got your pin for the port, it's over here, it's not all lined up. It could either be that you didn't get all the solder out of the 4 holes over here on the side, and sometimes the pins just for some reason don't line up. You can always just move it side to side, and then you want to press down on it. Let me get okay. I'll just throw some more flux up there. I'm going to go ahead and load a little bit of solder onto my tip here. Okay, so press down. Make sure you slid back. Being careful to not melt the plastic on the back of these. Alright, that should be good. Now, I'm going to flip it over. Okay, let's get this readjusted. And then, we're just going to fill the holes on the back side. Now I'm still using my big tip for this one. Like I said earlier, it gives a better heat transfer because you've got more surface area that's making contact. Let it sit on there for a second to heat the pins up. See how it's got a nice dome shape on it? That's because you're using the solder. I'll show you here on the other side. And I always just go over it. Make sure I really get that solder down in them holes. So over here, where we don't have the flux, if you were to do this, hand's a little shaky. I just had my morning cup of coffee. So you put that on. Oh, well, that one actually worked out quite well. Hold it there for a second, get the solder in. It actually worked quite well. Usually you'll see, instead of like the round dome shaped, you'll have a little bit of a where you pull your iron back, you'll see the solder will stretch out into little spiky points. But like I said, just throw some solder on there. Give this a moment to seep in the holes. And as I was mentioning earlier about the software for the audio, if anybody has any good suggestions of some software, if you don't mind leaving it in the comments or just messaging me or something. That way I'm just trying to be able to make some higher quality videos for you guys versus, and you know, better on my health, so that I'm not having to not use my fume extractor so it's not so loud and it drowns out what I'm saying, and then having to breathe some of these fumes in. Okay, so we're going to come over here, just wick up that little bit of excess right there. I mean, it's not going to hurt to leave it there, but I don't like to leave stuff looking bad. I like it looking nice and pretty, even though generally the customers never open their stuff back up to check. Okay, so let's flip this back over, and then we're going to get to the pins on the front side. And let's see, I'm just trying to get the best. Okay, that's about the best look once I'm pressing on the board. And we're going to get the tip changed out to my smaller tip that I like. Oh, come on, get off of there. Whew. Tip was still a little hot. Good Lord. Okay. So we're getting this one up to temperature to where I like it. Oh, come on. There we go. Now, just going to add some more flux to the area. It helps the solder flow. Also helps with not having cold joints. So your joints are a lot steadier. Okay, let's put this over there. Let's make sure you can see this in the camera. Okay, and then just doing a little bit of, oh yeah, I shouldn't have had that coffee this morning. My hands are quite shaky. Okay, just gonna be doing a little bit of light dragging to get that spread out. If you have a lot of excess and are looking to wick it up, generally you shouldn't have to, but sometimes, you know, you just, yeah, so I'm gonna have to wick some of that up. Sometimes you just put too much at first whenever you're anchoring it down. Okay, so let's get the wick out here. Wick this stuff up. Try to pay attention with it so you don't have that wick pressing up against the back and melting the plastic that's on the back of these ports. which is nice with these version 2 ports, because the original ones that came on these consoles and on the Xbox consoles, the Xbox ones, they didn't have a back to the port, so it was very easy to push the pins through, which with the Xboxes, they're the pads that I was talking about earlier that these pins are getting soldered onto. The pads on the Xboxes are a bit more fragile, so they were very prone to ripping pads, which is, I mean, it's no biggie. You can repair it. You just have to run some jumper wires to repair the traces. No biggie. Okay, let's see. Just doing a little bit of dragging here. Clean the tip some. Are we still in camera? Yes. Okay, come on. Oh yeah, see, it's looking real nice over there. So we got all those pins looking nice and solid. We got that little bit. Oh, hold on. There we go. See all the pins on the back side. It's kind of difficult with the glare there. There we go. All those ones on the right are nice and solid. And then over here on the left hand side, I've got the bridge between the two pins. So we just clean the tip of your soldering iron. And generally you can just heat up and pull away. Just like that. Okay. And it's always good practice to check your ports before you start putting everything back together. Go ahead and test the pins. I do a ton of these, so I'm pretty confident in my soldering capabilities. However, for the people that are just starting off, just come in with a pair of tweezers. You don't want to put much force because you can rip the pads, but you just give it a gentle little snug on them. Make sure that they are nice and tight. You see here, let me back this up. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, just giving a slight little nudge, making sure all the pins are nice and steady. Now these back here, you can, if you want to double check that you didn't have any bridges, but I mean, we could see right here that we don't have any bridges. Now, the only other thing that really will cause the HDMI issues that's coming up on the TV, where you're getting the consoles turning on just fine, the blue light on it, after a little bit it fades over to the whitish color light. That's letting you know the system's working properly. But if you're not getting an image and it wasn't the port, it's going to be back here. These here are your row excuse me. These four back here are going to be your HDMI filters, which very, very, very rarely do those go bad. About the only time that I've had to replace them when people try to do these ports themselves, and you know, they're not too steady with the soldering iron and whatnot, and they're jerking around and just knock them off the board. Outside of that, you have this chip here, which is going to be your HDMI IC. It's the encoder chip, which basically just communicates the signal that's coming from the board and changes it to where when it goes through the HDMI port into a basically just you know, what you're seeing on the TV, the signal, however you're wanting to describe it. Okay, so we're going to turn the soldering iron off now that we're done with that. We're going to come back here to this section. Let's get this a little bit more in focus for you. See how some of this isn't wanting to come off. Now these back here, these 4 pins, it's not going to matter if they bridge, because all they're doing is that's what's anchoring the port onto the board. So if you've got some bridges there, it's really not going to matter. Yet again, like I said, I like to make things look nice and neat. I don't like do my best to make it look like it did when it comes out of the manufacturer. So we're going to wipe up what we can. See how it's getting sticky and pulling off some of the cotton on there. Quick, easy fix. You don't want to do it too much. Just come back through to liquefy all of that low melt, or excuse me, all the flux there. Quick little bit there. And now it'll come up no problem. Look at there. Just comes right up. And I'm just getting the majority of it up now. I do a more thorough cleaning after I got everything done. Boards tested. Everything's working just good. Alright, let's flip this over. Let's get the front here cleaned up. Let's see if we can zoom in here and get a better picture. We're going to just do the same thing here. A little bit of heat. Warm that flux back up. That way it'll come off a lot easier. Grab me another Q-tip. 91% isopropylene alcohol. Wonderful. It's such a lovely thing. Cleans all this mess up. It'll help clean up the corruption. Sorry, I've been playing a bit too many video games on my free time. The corrosion. Allows you to clean the corrosion up real well. Now you still want to dilute it with a little bit of baking soda or something. But let's just get this cleaned up here. Okay. Nice and clean. Looking a lot better. This is the backing that I was telling you about. The plastic backing versus... this must be the second revision of the Slim, because the first one didn't have that backing. Basically, the first ones, when they first came out with the boards, this plastic backing back here wasn't on there. So basically, you just had your pins going straight from the board. They'd go in, come up like this, and then go out to the port where it connects onto the inside of that port there where you plug it in your HDMI cable. So when you plugged it in wrong, at wrong angles, whatnot, what it was doing is just shoving those pins out and ripping it up. Okay, so let me zoom in here now that I accidentally bumped that with my tweezers. Make sure I didn't damage that trace. Quick, easy way to tell. Get your multimeter. Go ahead and put this bad boy into continuity. And because I'm thinking it was this one over here, I'll go ahead and put one probe on the filter there, and then the other one. Alright, so it's making the connection to the chip. It just scraped a little bit of the thermal covering on it that it's just like a little protective coating. So just scraped a little bit of that up. Alright. So, like I was saying earlier, before it goes back in, let me clean and get some of that off of there. I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. And we're going to take a quick break for me to get this reassembled, and once it's reassembled, we'll get it tested and we'll show you guys it working just fine. Be right back. Alright, here we go. Got it all back together. Let's turn it on. Kind of the glare from the ceiling fan. There it is. Just make sure it goes in through the main screen here. Shouldn't have any other issues. It's going to be a little slow starting up the first time because with the hard drive being taken out and everything, it's just got to regather itself. So yeah, see, it was sitting there saying that it wasn't shut down properly. Give me 1 second to grab a controller. Okay, I got a controller. Go ahead and press just continue. And there it is. Everything's working just fine. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me some messages or, comment down below. Have a good day.